Here's the overview of the site that we are developing into a whitetail property. This here is where we intend to put the food plot, which there's a small collection pond right here that deer can get water out of. This here and all the other red trails are the existing logging routes. Blue trails are deer trails, with this heavier dotted blue trail being a perimeter trail that we created that goes all the way around the food plot. This here is another collection pond, which is a lot bigger and deeper. Good watering source for the deer. This was a ridge that follows all the way along here. It's a little too steep for deer to traverse regularly, so we went ahead and cut out some of the ridge and made a more gradual food plot trail to get to the main plot. Same back here. Cut a more gradual trail up over and down and through the bottom here to get access to the food plot. Property lines on top and bottom both have ridge systems along the property line, which should allow us to go around the outsides of the ridges depending on the weather, the winds, to keep our scent blowing off the property, and the noise should be dampened by the ridges, try and prevent affecting doe that are bedded within. The back half of the property here will be able to house bucks, about 20 acres right of the white line in the center and 20 acres to the left of it. And if we can house doe around the main food plot up front, there may be some trickle of does bedding back in here, but if we can reserve the far reaches of the property for buck activity, we can stay out of here for the majority of the year, focus our efforts on food around here and up front. We may plant a plot trail that goes all the way through here eventually to promote some action from the back of the property to the front. And then we'll have several stands surrounding the plot up here, none directly on the plot, because we don't want to make deer intimidated when they come into the plot thinking that they're going to encounter us. So we will keep them off the plot where we can sneak out the backside to the ridges and disappear after hunting is over. And same up here. I'd like to try to get a stand in this location, but I'll have to figure out how I want to access that in order to get there, because there seems to be a hub of activity right here. So this is how we plan on arranging the property. Should begin work soon on clearing this section out for the food plot, and also on these two trails here. We're going to get some equipment in here and work on these ourselves, get them planted, and then this here, we have a clearing company that's going to be coming in to take care of this for us, due to its larger scale. The money that we get from selling the timber should offset the cost of having it cut down. So this is the property. This is our initial plan. Things will change throughout, I'm sure. This is what we've come up to start, and we'll adjust this as we go. Thanks for watching. Here we are on the new property. This property was just recently purchased at the beginning of 2020. Has a 4-acre pine grove in the middle of the front of the property. It's 40 acres total. I got 20 acres on the front side, which terminates just behind the pine trees, and 20 acres on the back side of the property that be used for bedding. The pine trees were inspected right after the purchase and didn't seem to be using a lot of deer action, so we're going to go ahead and change part of their pine grove into a food plot in hopes to draw the deer from the surrounding areas over to eat, primarily after the agriculture is gone, in mid to late winter. As you can see off in the distance, there is agriculture, ag land. It's primarily planted in corn. Every now and then they will plant soybeans, but those are the only two crops that are planted here. And this year, I'm not sure what they're going to plant, but last year it was corn. In each of the ag fields in the distance, the field off to the left is not planted. It's just overgrown native field. A little pine grove off to the right showed some deer action. We put a couple of cameras in here immediately after purchase and showed some good action. The little clearing directly at the bottom of the screen here showed some good action. We put a little bit of corn there, see what deer regularly were on the property, and we got some good draw, for our first year. But yeah, there again, there's our cornfields over there. I anticipate them being corn again next year. The access road over there is about 3/4 of a mile from this property, and that field there does not get planted. That's just a hay field. But this is looking back across the property, back to the pine grove. Off to the left of this pine grove, you can see a small pine grove just across, which is a visible logging road there in between the two. There's a lot of good rubs, good buck sign over in that small pine grove to the left. The logging road that you see going from the middle of the screen to the bottom, covered in snow, that is actually following a ridge line off to the right of that road. It's a major ridge line, probably a 30-foot elevation change. And then it drops back down about 20 feet on the other side of the ridge and into the big pine grove in the center of the screen. Down to the right, there is a visible pond there, which is drainage for everything within the ridge system, and provides somewhat used water source. There's a better water source up in the middle of the pine trees that they use more often, and that will especially be the case after we start to implement our plan, which is to cut a portion of those pine trees out and put a food plot up there. They are too mature of pine trees for the deer to use very often. We inspected it at the end of the winter when we purchased the property, and there were very few beds in there that weren't being used that often. Just no food was up there. The pine did provide a little bit of shelter, but not a significant enough amount to make a difference and make it warranted to keep on the property. So we'll take some of the mature pines out. We found a company that was going to buy them in northern Ohio. Then the price of the pine will offset the cost of clearing it and help to begin the process of planting a food plot in there. So that should work out for us in the end. Well, some initial investment, but it'll come back to us. And then down on the right side of the property, kind of right of the pond, was a good existing bedding area that we noticed while reviewing the properties and walking through the area before the purchase. But there's another ridge that follows around the right side of the pond and goes back out to the main road, which is in the distance on the opposite side of the pine stand that is in the middle there. This is one we purchased, and we're looking forward to begin the work here. Should begin it here soon. As soon as the contract's signed, we have things that we want to do. Hopefully we can implement this plan and be successful. If you stay tuned and follow along in our videos, we will show you each step of the way and explain why we're doing what we're doing and explain to you the things that didn't work. Hopefully you'll be able to pick up some advice, some tips. So once again, thanks for watching.